Call this special called meeting of the Simpson County Fiscal Court to order. We'll begin with a prayer and then we'll have the pledge to the flag. Heavenly Father, we do come before you today to thank you for this day that you've given us. And Lord, we just thank you for this community that we've lived in. And Lord, the way that you bless us endlessly, Father, we thank you for that. Lord, we ask you to lead and guide us during this time together. Lord, that the decisions we make and the things we decide and do are the things that are right and pleasing in your sight. And Lord, most of all, we thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, that we might have salvation through him. We ask all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, as I said, today is a special called meeting, so just as a reminder, we won't be able to discuss or take any action on anything except the items that are on the agenda, and hopefully we can move through here fairly quickly. First item is to review and approve the minutes of the April 16th regular fiscal court meeting.
So moved.
Got a motion by Marty,
Second.
second by Jeffrey. Any question, discussion, or changes there? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next is some discussion about a change in our interest-bearing checking accounts, and we have Jill Gregory with Franklin Bank and Davis Taylor with Franklin Bank. Nicole and I went down, if you've got on your portal, there's some information about Intrify. Nicole and I went down one day last week and met with the folks at Franklin Bank. And we've got, I think it's 4, is it 4 accounts at Franklin Bank? 3.
Yes, 4.
4. They all have some interest bearing, but we can move it to this Intrify and have a much better interest. You see on your portal, current rates are like 0.2, 0.2, 1.75, 0.2. We can move it and have a 4% interest rate on the money with no minimums in the checking accounts. But the reason that Jill and Davis are here is if any of y'all have a question about it, they're the ones that can answer how this works.
I don't have any question. I'm just amazed at the interest rate.
Yeah. So the recommendation is, as you see, the 4 accounts that we have at Franklin Bank, the recommendation is to move these to these Intrify accounts. And I would say we would have to authorize the judge to sign any necessary paperwork that it would take to effectuate that. But also, we did check, because we have 3 other accounts?
3 other interest-bearings.
Interest-bearing accounts. And we check those and the amounts, and so 2 of those are at German American, and they can move those, as you see on the information there, up to 3%, and then the one we have at South Central, theirs would be 3.45 to 4.41. So.
And that depends on the balance.
That does depend on the balance there.
$500,000 balance.
Right, but even if it goes down, it'd be 3.45, even if it goes below the 500,000. So the recommendation, according to the county treasurer, unless I mess this up, you correct me if I mess this up, is to move to the Intrify on the accounts we have at Franklin Bank, and then to move to these different interest-bearing accounts at the other 2 banks, but to leave that money where they're at simply because we won't have to get new checks and all of that sort of thing and redo accounts. And I don't know, I guess honestly, Sam's not here to give legal guidance. I would say we probably need to do this in 3 separate motions.
So you're saying leave like the opioid settlement fund and the LGA fund where they're at now?
And the road fund. The road fund and the opioid settlement fund are both currently at German American.
Okay.
And they would move from 1.4 to 3% and 1.95 to 3%. The LGEA fund is at South Central Bank at 0.2. It would move to 4.41% as long as we were above 500,000, but if it gets below 500,000, it would be at 3.45.
Okay.
But I think our best option is to do this in 3 separate motions so that we can make a motion to move the 4 accounts that we currently have at Franklin Bank, which are the general fund, the jail fund, the ARPA fund, and that new county clerk fund, that we move those to the IntraFi accounts with Franklin Bank. I just need a motion and a second.
Second.
All right, so we got a motion by Scott and a second by Myron to move those 4 accounts to that IntraFi with Franklin Bank. Any other question, discussion? See, Jill and Davis, y'all got off easy. You don't even have to answer a question. And y'all don't even have to stay and listen to the rest of this unless y'all just are bored and have nothing else to do today. All right, so all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. And then the same with the road fund and the opioid fund to move the current checking accounts there to their larger interest-bearing checking account and authorize any and all signatures that are necessary. And that makes me think, well, let's move this one and we need to circle back to the first one. I'm sorry, Pam.
So moved.
Got a motion by Marty and a second by Jeffrey. Any question or discussion there? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
I think we need, who made the motion and the second on the Franklin Bank? Would y'all be willing to amend your motion to authorize any and all signatures? Because I think we just authorized mine, but it may require the county treasurer's signature also.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
And I guess we do need to make a motion and, a vote on the amended. Is there, all in favor of the amended motion?
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Very good. Sorry about that. And then finally, the LGEA fund at South Central Bank, a motion and a second to move it to the larger interest-bearing account and authorize any and all signatures necessary to move it.
So moved.
Got a motion by Marty,
Second.
second by Scott. Any other question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank y'all very much. We look forward to making more money. All right, let's skip number 3 and go down to financial business, and that way we can have all of the business that we'll take action on out of the way today. The budget transfers, if you looked at those, we need a motion and a second to approve those budget transfers.
So moved.
Got a motion by Marty,
Second.
second by Jeffrey. Any question or discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
And then bills and claims. Need a motion and a second to approve the bills and claims as presented.
So moved.
Got a motion by Myron,
Second.
second by Scott. Any questions or discussions? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. All right, gentlemen, back up to item number 3, the review and discuss the fiscal year 24-25 budget. On the portal is a lot of information in a folder under budget assumptions and topics. There's a few different pieces in that folder. And obviously the budget is one of those things that seem to change about every day on information that you get, that you're waiting on, that you don't have. And so I know all of y'all picked up a copy Friday, but we got more and new information yesterday that changed a little bit of that. It actually helped it a little bit, and that's what you got a copy of this morning. And I think, what were the bigger changes from yesterday? The 911 money and
And the AOC,
Yes.
Justice Center reimbursement.
the appropriations from the Office of the Courts over there. But, all right. So as you see on your page there, I'll just run through this real quick so the people that are listening can hear all this too. What's plugged into the budget you just got this morning, and like I said, the changes were the appropriations from the AOC, and we finally got the updated numbers on the meters that are being assessed the 911 fee. One other thing too, and I'll say this before we get into all the assumptions. In June of this year, the 911 contract is up for renewal, and we reached out to Jimmy Kitchens, who is our contact with KSP on that, to ask him if there were any anticipated changes, and his answer was no. The biggest anticipated change is today's his last day. Tomorrow he moves into retirement. I can't remember now who he said would be taking his place. Do you recall, Nicole? Yes. Thank you. You're not Nicole, but thank you. I just want people to know when they hear that voice, that wasn't Nicole. But he said no, he did not anticipate any changes for the next contract with KSP on dispatch services. So the budget that you're looking at, that you got this morning, is showing a 3.4% CPI across the board. It shows a property and casualty insurance increase of 19%. It shows a workers' comp insurance increase of 30%. Right now, you see nothing is currently plugged in the health insurance. The initial meeting we had was a proposed 9.8% increase. You'll see the information that you've got on your portal it is down to a 5.5% increase, but we're still waiting on, Mr. Harding thinks that we can get it lower than the 5.5 because he has reached out to United Healthcare to offer us a quote to see what they can do, and he thinks that they will come back with something that could possibly leverage us to get Anthem to even come down more. It all kind of seems like an insurance game to me, but it's not really a fun game. So we don't know, but we do have some numbers we'll talk about in a minute for insurance that could probably be our worst case scenario, but it's not currently plugged into the budget. This budget also shows the expanded jurisdiction and the electrical, the dollar amount of revenue increase on those lines that have been added into the budget. It currently shows the soil conservation contribution unchanged from the previous fiscal year. It shows the cost of one election. It reflects the cost of the new firefighters and the 24/7 model. It does reflect an approximate 3% decrease in retirement rates. Here's the biggest thing, probably dollar-wise in the budget. It shows a decrease in state inmates from 205 down to 170. Is that still looking, I mean, do y'all know, like today, what is the state inmate count today? Do you know?
Today it's 159 on the state side, and y'all I can't get
You can. I mean, we're not going to labor this
Yeah.
right now a whole lot
No.
until we get into that part, but.
right now we're at 159 on the state side and 77 on the county side. We budgeted the way we thought it
Yeah.
might work out.
Yeah.
And I want the court to know that my staff's doing everything we can. We're taking what we can without incurring a lot of medical issues with these inmates that we're pulling in. Now, we're pulling in some dangerous ones because the other ones can't, other jails, smaller jails can't handle them. So you got to take the good with the bad.
Eric, I'll speak for myself, but I think the entire court agrees. We know this isn't you or the jail staff. I mean, we know whatever's going on with the state and what they're doing.
It's screwing the count. Excuse me, language. Forgive me, public. It's the state. I apologize.
They're messing us up.
They're messing us up, yes.
They'll beat that
They're taking
out.
advantage of the county, the state's taking advantage of the county, and there's really nothing we can do. I will tell you, let's say the futures are looking like we are probably gonna go back to what last year was in the probably the later part of the year. So we're just hoping. But we still got our heels dug in and trying to get them in to offset. Y'all know I try to keep as many as I can, so. But that's where we are today.
Okay.
I just pulled the numbers and, yeah, it don't look good right now.
Thank you.
So I'm going to punch this in real quick. Just so the public understands, so we're aware and the public understands, in our current fiscal year budget, we had budgeted for 205 state inmates and had run that average pretty good up until recently. And kind of the trends were looking like it would be about 170, which is what's plugged into this budget. I didn't really like to hear that 159 number this morning.
Well, Mason, today's in the month, it's in the month, so they released some today.
We'll pick it up tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay.
Which is normal.
That makes me feel a little better. But the point being, the 35 difference from last fiscal year to this fiscal year on the current dollar amount paid equates to a little over $450,000 that's just gone. Okay, but at any rate, so back on this, this budget does reflect something we just voted on, and we went ahead and plugged it in anticipating that it would go this way, and that is the increased interest revenue from the change in banking. So we've had that discussion. Thankfully, we voted to do it, so it does reflect some of that. There is a sizable number for prior year carryover here, but I just want everyone to understand this includes money that's been put in year over year to be prepared to purchase another fire truck, the fire extrication tools. It does take into consideration ARPA money and money in the electrical contractor's inspection that's already been permitted but not yet been billed. So we've gotten the money, but it hadn't been out, so that's why it's in prior year surplus or prior year carryover. This also reflects the county road aid unchanged from last year, and it also reflects the flex funds that the road department gets at roughly 5% less than last year. So, that's what we get. We get increase in insurance rates. We get increase in work comp and employee cost, and we get things mandated from the state that cost us money, but no revenue to cover a lot of those things. So, and just so, and I think I texted and let all y'all know, the Senate Bill 283 never got out of the House. They didn't do anything with it. So the chances that there's going to be any additional state inmate revenue, like an increase in it, not going to happen in this fiscal year. So I guess the bigger discussion points, as you see the way the budget is currently crafted, all the other funds and lines all zero out. The jail fund is every fund is balanced. The general fund does show, now, I think the copy y'all received Friday showed an excess of 17,000 something, and the budget you're looking at now is in excess of just shy of 55,000. But here's some of the buts. And I think all of this is somewhere in y'all on the portal in y'all's in that folder. It's taking me a second to get to the insurance part, because I think we need to start there. Do y'all have on the health insurance comparison and the health insurance plans? All right. So, and I'll probably be calling on Nicole a lot, because Nicole has spent a lot of time with this budget. I mean, you have to understand something. Even prior to Nicole becoming the county treasurer, I think it was, I don't know how many years prior to her becoming the county treasurer, that she was still the one working to put the budget together. So I don't know how long that is, but I know she works with it, deals with it day in, day out, every department. And I would be willing to say, and I think it's safe to say, understands and knows the operation of the budget probably better than anyone else. But she spent a lot of time getting this together. Then we've sat down and hashed through a few things and looked at a few things that could be adjusted and changed, and have presented what we think is the best we can have at the moment. But the one thing we do have to do, because we have nothing extra plugged into the budget for health insurance, is we've got to kind of establish that. And what you're looking at now, according to Kelly, if I'm not misunderstanding, this would be worst case scenario.
This is at the 5.5% increase
Right,
on the
and
standard plan.
That he says he knows we can get, but could possibly
He's
get
trying
better.
to get better, yeah.
But
Is that still with Anthem?
still with Anthem.
Okay.
And see, there's only in Kentucky, so in Kentucky, you're only going to be able to get insurance with Anthem or United Healthcare, because whoever the other one, there was one, I know Humana, they pulled out.
Yeah.
They're out of the state. And I think prior to that, there was just those three. If there was another one, I'm not aware of it. So, I mean, it's not like you have tons of options. And the problem you have when there are really no options is they kind of drive the prices to wherever they want to drive them to. You know, like if you're the only one, you know, selling tiddlywinks, you can charge whatever you want for your tiddlywinks because no one else is selling them. But at any rate, if you look at your current rates for the core plan, you see what those rates are, what the increase would be, and then you've got a sheet, and this should be insurance plans that they look like this. Yeah, y'all are on that, I guess. Because you've got insurance comparisons
Oh, plan.
and then insurance plans. So when you look at those, you see the standard plan,
The standard plan is pretty much all the same, except for, of course, it increases. And the deductible gap and deductibles are the same. And he's got it where $1,500 of HRA is plugged in, which you all currently do $1,500 per employee on HRA to cover the deductible, so it's a little bit less for employees. Now, the change on the premium plan, if you'll look at it, he's got it highlighted on the sheet, is that there is a change in deductible. It went up $200 on employees. And so he's adjusted on this sheet that you're looking at, he's adjusted that HRA to $1,700 for those who take the premium plan to keep that deductible gap the same at $1,500. So right now, we currently have $1,500 of HRA per employee. So that's why all the scenarios are on the comparison sheet so that you all can choose, are we staying at $1,500? Are you going to go with standard plan taking $1,500 HRA and then do the premium plan employees giving them $1,700 to keep their deductible the same, which will be a difference? Or are you going to go $1,700 of HRA for everybody across the board? So, and then, of course, there's the adjustments. If we go up $25, if we go up $50 per employee, you'll see that on there. And then I also kept the current, that green where it's $900. I mean, just to get the $1,500 and $1,700 of HRA to where their deductible is the same. If we stayed at $900, you'll see that increase that has to happen there too. So We've never really had to worry about the HRA because the deductible hasn't changed, but it's changing this time on the premium plan, so.
So that would be almost $72 a month that the employee would have to pay if we kept it at 900.
If we kept it at 900, it would be, and that's off to the right there. So the premium plan, it looks like it'd be $55.24 per employee per month. And then on the standard plan, it would be $1.28 per month. And you'll see on that, there's a current column, and that's what they're currently paying per month, under that column to the far right.
So why is the standard, I mean, by Kelly's estimates, the standard policy is going up 5.5% and the premium's going up 5.2%?
It's always like that. I mean,
Is
there's
that-
always a difference in plans. I mean, you know, so, I mean, of course, you'll see, I mean, and I went through the bill yesterday, Michelle and I, and, you know, I kind of have the employee count as, that's currently the employee count on standard is who's taking standard. So you'll see that in the
Okay,
green,
okay,
and then I
yeah.
just offset worst-case scenario to the premium, because we do have a couple extras coming on, and so, and we kind of estimated at 85. But yeah, it's always like that. There's usually a difference in plans where they're not exactly the same increase, so. And the numbers at the top reflect $1,500 in HRA across the board.
So if we
So-
increase the HRA fund, that's going to help them, that'll help on the deductible.
On the premium
Yeah.
employees, yeah.
Yeah.
We just got to figure out which way we want to do this, because we've got to get that number plugged into the budget. And if we're going to increase any of the county contribution to the health plan, which I think we're currently contributing $900 per month, which,
To go to 950, is that $68,000? Is that what that's saying?
That's if you go to $950 per employee, and you have $1,700 of HRA across the board for every employee.
Okay. Would that be similar to what we have now?
What we have now is in the green, but like I say, the only difference is the HRA funds. I mean,
I meant with a similar as far as,
yeah, that'll keep the deductible gaps and everything the same, and for everybody as far as that goes, yes.
okay.
I think that's what we're going to need to consider. Is, in our HRA, going from 15 to 1,700.
Across the board, or
Yeah, well,
or
because it's going to take
differentiating.
everybody's deductible if we don't.
Yeah. So keeping your standard at 1,500 and then your premium, who takes premium at 1,700?
Because if we, I don't think the other healthcare service, with the National Healthcare, is that the name of it?
United.
United, excuse me. I don't think they're going to offer.
I mean,
As good insurance as what Anthem's got, I don't think.
well, here's the thing, we don't know yet what they're going to offer. Honestly, we don't know that they will even be willing to make an offer.
You mean United?
United. We got, what happened was, Kelly came and talked with us about what the Anthem had proposed at the 9.8. And so he said, I will let them know that y'all want another quote from United Healthcare and see if they do anything just based on that. And then we can get the quote and I can go back to them again. So the first question is will United Healthcare even quote it? Because they may decline to even quote it. And just the thought that we were going to get it quoted, got it dropped. I mean, that's the part that I think is there's some game here, because when you notify Anthem that, hey, they're going to quote this with United, it goes from 9.8 to 5.5. I mean, so like, why didn't you start there instead of get there? But one is, will United even quote it? Because we've yet to hear back from them. But two, if they do quote it, what kind of coverage would it be? But then the bigger picture of it is, it's like, okay, let's just say they do come back with some health insurance that's similar, comparable to what we have, and it's even a little less, then we kind of lose where we're at with Anthem, and there's no guarantee that United won't I won't use the jailer's words, but they might mess us up again down the road. So
There's no leverage to it here. There's nothing here.
yeah, so I mean, I think our best option at this point is to determine which one of these routes we feel is best for us, and then hope that United does actually quote it, and we get an actual number to take back to Anthem, and Anthem comes back and says, well, if they're considering that, we can drop another %. I mean, that's probably our best case scenario. Does that explain fairly accurately?
So if we keep it the way it is right now, and we do the $715 or $1,700, and keeping a $900 contribution, is that $38.86 per month? How much the employee has to pay for a premium plan?
That's a credit, so like that's if, that's what's current. That's what the current plan is. Like the current plan, with you all providing $900, if they take the standard plan, they get a credit of $38.86 a month.
Okay.
If we go this route, they would actually have to pay.
They would have to pay.
They'd have to pay not more.
$1.28.
$1.28
If we kept
a
it at
month.
900.
To keep it at 900.
Keep it at 900, the employee with the standard plan would have to pay $1.28, and the employee with the premium plan would have to pay $71.91 per month.
No, $55.24.
Oh, $55.24.
So there's so many numbers on here, I can't. That's right.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, and when I say unchanged, so we've already got the $900 plugged in to the budget. So if we opt to go 900 and the increase goes on the employee, which you're getting a $38 refund, now you're adding $1.20 something, so essentially it would cost that standard plan employee an additional $40 a month, is essentially what the cost would be to them. And then you said the premium is $55. What are they currently paying, Nicole?
Their current $14.53.
So either way you go, whichever plan you're on, it would be roughly a $40 increase to the employee if we keep our contribution at $900.
And to do $50 a month increase, that's $61,803 to the budget.
Yeah, $950, and
Yep,
that's keeping the
61,000.
deductible gap the same. So giving your standard employees $1,500 in HRA and your premium insurance employees at $1,700 HRA.
And it immediately puts us at needing to find $7,000
I understand.
before we do anything else.
Well, how many employees, well, I mean, not affect all of them, but how many employees can we say how many have premium, how many have standard?
Yeah, it's in the green.
It's right here.
So that's who's currently has the standard. Now, we did estimate up to 85 employees.
That's
I
how
think,
many
Michelle,
got
there
the
was
premium,
77.
43,
Oh, okay.
and then 31
But
on the standard.
we are going to have some come and go and come on and whatnot, so.
I think that's what she said.
And,
Well, I'd say before this budget's over, we're gonna have to find more than $7,000.
yeah. So let's kind of hold on to that for a second, so the basic of where we're at is we either stay where we're at, and the employee cost to the health insurance, regardless of plan, is going to be roughly $40 a month. Now, the actual dollars out of the standard plan's check would only be $1 something, but they would be losing the 38 whatever that they're getting in their What do they get it on, like some kind of card?
You can put it on FSA, you can put it on supplemental policies,
Yeah.
dental.
So while it would only cost a standard user that dollar something, they would essentially lose $40. They'll lose a $38 benefit, plus it would cost them a dollar something. And it would cost the premium user an additional roughly $40 per month. So we can stay at 900 and add roughly $40 to employee cost, or we can cover all of that at the 950, but it'd be $61,000 more. So let's put that on the back burner and move on to probably the biggest thing that we need to discuss. If y'all remember last year we set out, this is the worst part of budgeting ever, is talking about employee pay and what we do and how we get there. Because the truth is, there's not unlimited money to do everything. I mean, it's just, if there was unlimited money, then there would be really no reason to have a budget discussion. We'd just be throwing it out there and it'd all be over with. But we have a reality with law enforcement that doesn't appear to be getting any better. And I know the sheriff has some information. Do you have copies that you want to hand out to us, Sheriff?
Yes.
Because one of the things under discussion is the increased pay for sheriff deputies, road deputies, and the 2 points under that is the 911 water meter rates and the health department tax, and I think they're going to have to be discussed kind of in conjunction. Because while, yes, it would be great to do everything we can to get the pay of every employee up, and yes, we lose employees from different departments and agents and so on, but the only department that we're really losing employees from that department to another similar department, either in the same county or adjoining counties, is our law enforcement. And I'm going to let the sheriff talk about that for just a minute.
Yeah, so bear with me. This will save, even though I'm gonna take up a little time this morning, it will save you time in the long run, so that I don't have to keep repeating things to you, if you understand what I'm talking about. Couple of comments that I've had this year, there's nothing wrong with any of the comments, I'm not putting anybody down that has made a comment like this, but I wanna make sure you get a clear vision. My role as sheriff is to run the sheriff's office for you. These people work for you guys. I just happen to be the elected sheriff. And a few things that you really need to take into consideration. I keep hearing the comment, well, that's not fair to all the county employees. There's nothing that's ever going to be fair to all the county employees. You are hiring for a position. When I talk about the sheriff's office and what we're talking about today, the deputies paid as top certified, and we'll explain that in a minute, that are working the road. Everybody at the sheriff's office should not be paid the same. Everybody at the sheriff's office has a different job. If you're working court security, you should get paid what a court security officer is making, and we can look at different areas and make sure you're around the area that other court security officers. But you know what? If you want to work court security, you're going to have to go to a different county to work court security. If you don't like what's going on here.
But can I ask a question there real quick?
Yes.
If you do have court security officers leaving, are they typically leaving to go to court security somewhere else? Or are they typically, I mean, my point to that is we are actually losing sheriff's deputies to other law enforcement agencies.
Correct. The different functions we have the administrative staff, which is your tax collector, which is going to be Jada Freeman. Dina Rollers has come on because of all the demands that we've had over the last 15 to 20 years about records retention and all the things that are required in that. She oversees that. And Tracy Kent, she oversees all our process serving and stuff like that. They're not road deputies. They are employees of the sheriff's office, and I'll call them a deputy, but we're not talking about that. We're not talking about animal control. We're not talking about people that are serving papers and
we're only talking about somebody that goes to the academy. So let me tell you, another comment that I've heard is, well, just go hire somebody else. Well, if you haven't listened to the news, what you're hearing is it's almost impossible to find a police officer to hire in this day and time. And I'll tell you why. And this is a good thing because it really protects. The amount of authority you have when you put that badge on is unbelievable. I can shut down your business, I can shut down your home. So you need the right person that's carrying that authority to make the right decisions and not abuse authority. And back in the old days, you saw a lot of abuse, and that's been weaned out over the last 20 years. You don't see it. Every now and then you'll hear something somewhere, but very rarely. So, for me to hire somebody, first you got to get through a physical fitness test. That physical fitness test, 50% of the people in our community or in the state of Kentucky couldn't pass the physical fitness test, okay? So you lose half the people that are going, I'd like to be a policeman, just from the get-go. Because they can't go run 300 yards in a certain amount of time. They can't run the 1.5 miles in a certain time. They can't do 25 push-ups, 25 sit-ups, okay? So you've reduced your pool of people that may want to be police officers by half, but they need to be physically fit. And that health insurance you're talking about, helping get people that are physically fit helps keep the numbers down in that. Second, of the people that we can get through the physical fitness part, you've got to look through, are they going to get through the background? 50% of them aren't going to make it through the background, okay? When you go back and talk to their teachers at high school, when you go talk to their past employers, it's not okay that you shoplifted this one time. I can let that go in most businesses, but in police offices, you necessarily can't. Some minor things with a long time ago, you can look at that, and maybe you can get them through to DOC. But that cocaine use that happened 5 years ago, third, of the people that can do the physical training, of the people that can get through the background, now you got to leave home for 6 months. Everybody can't leave home for 6 months because you got to go to the police academy. If either one of you right now wanted to be a police officer, you'd probably get through the background because you're good people. And you got yourself in shape. Let's assume you went out. I'm not saying you're not in shape. But can you pick?
Why do you look at me? You can assume most of us are not. Yeah.
Are your wives and your kids good with you picking up for 6 months and leaving? Yeah, you get to come home on the weekend, so that helps, but you're gone all week. And it's not one of those you can miss a few days. If you miss a few days at the academy, you're out. And then finally, you get into the field training portion. So you put all this time and effort, you come back, and we do the fine tuning at the sheriff's office to make sure that there's no abuse of power that we see in you and that you're going to be good. What we have created in Franklin is a perfect breeding ground to still our people. And that's exactly what's happening. Because I've gone through this year-long, right now we lost, by the way, 20% of our officers left the sheriff's office last year, and it was all over pay, and it was all over benefits. They weren't mad at the sheriff's office. They weren't mad at Simpson County. They simply had to make a business decision for themselves. The ones that left, one had 15 years experience. He was a leader of men and women. They all respected him, but they watched what he did, and it's got them thinking, quite frankly. He had been to homicide schools, he had been to reconstruction school, all of that you guys paid for. And over 15 years, you probably put a couple of $100,000 in training, business, and efforts into this young man to leave over a few dollars an hour. Now, I don't blame him for leaving. He's got kids, he can't get family insurance here, and that health care spending account that people that take the insurance and get the $1,700, if you waive it, you don't get but $500. And there's no help for you on going to get family insurance. I'm not saying y'all can fix that, but I'm saying realize we're losing people. Second person that we lost, same thing. And he's gone to Bowling Green. He didn't stay local, but he wanted to go back to school. He went to Western. The third person hadn't left yet, but has notified me, and he's not hanging out. but he's going to be leaving in August. And basically, a local agency here in Franklin was able to come to him and go, we're going to keep you in the same job, same position, give you $6 more an hour, and give you family insurance. What about that? Just so you know, his family insurance he was paying $500 a month for because he had to go through his wife's. I'm not saying you can do anything about that. He's paying $186 through the city for family insurance, so he saved $300 plus. That covers his dental care and his eye care is all included in that $186. I talked to him and he was up front about what he was getting. Could I, in good conscience, he's got 17 years experience, this officer. Could I, in good conscience, because your retirement is based on what you make, your final 3 years for police officers in hazardous duty, could I, in good conscience, look him in the eye and tell him, no, you need to stay? You can't. Not if you're an honest person. If you're an honest person, you can't do that. So when I say a breeding ground, Franklin PD right now, their starting rate is $25 an hour. That's what you can walk in and start as a police officer at. Our starting rate at the sheriff's office is $19 an hour. Now, there's a thing called CLEF. I've already figured that in, and the figures we're going to talk about this morning and you're looking at has already been figured in. CLEF is a law enforcement stipend that comes back to the county. It was $2.03, it's going up to $2.12 an hour. If you stay POP certified, you get your 40 hours training every year. The state rewards the county as long as you go by their rules and sends that check in. That's part of my revenue. Got the revenue sheet, got the bill sheet. That money comes in. So that 19 you're paying the officer, really we're only paying them 17 because $2 of that's coming back from the CLEF that we have to pay them. Some agencies give you a separate check for CLEF, and it's not in their pay. You know, you're making $22 and plus you're getting $2.12 here. Here in Simpson County, we've just grouped it all together. It was like that when I got here, so it's all considered into your pay. The rates I've given you, I've already calculated that out. It's got CLEF built into their pay, whether the agency gave you a separate check or not. These rates
So on
reflect
this
you get
page,
CLEF.
it says pay rate comparison by agency.
Yes.
These are all the starting pay
Yes.
with the CLEF money figured in.
Yes. Some agencies, and we don't have this, and it's already been figured in, have a per diem. A per diem is a flat rate they give the officer per day to cover expenses he may have for his profession. I'm not suggesting we do that, but I'm wanting you to know I've already figured. State police gave you $7 a day. Why? Because you had to get your uniforms cleaned and pressed, and you had to do this, and you had to do that, and basically it wasn't an income, but it was figured in. So, when you look at that first sheet that I've presented you, I don't expect us to be able to participate with KSP, but you know, the starting rate at KSP is $34.61. That's for a brand new troop to go to the academy. Now the next two, because we can learn something from these, Bowling Green and Warren County, we can't compete with what they pay. I understand that, and I'm not asking you to, but we have to realize it. But notice they're in the same community, and that's big. Warren County cannot lose all of its people to Bowling Green, and that's what would happen if there's a great injustice in pay. There's a lot more freedom at a sheriff's office. A lot of people really prefer to work for a sheriff as opposed to a PD because there's some differences behind the scenes that you don't need to know about that would just bore you, quite frankly. But if you're in the profession, you would need to know about. But if their pay's not the same or close to the same, now something Warren County did, even though Warren County's pay is a little bit off of Bowling Green PD's, and guess what? Warren County cannot afford to do family insurance for all county employees. Have we heard that before? We probably can't afford to do that. Warren County gives you $4,800 on a health care spending account if you waive your insurance. Because you can take that $4,800 and it helps you go find a family plan. It may be your wife's plan you're having to use, but even though you're not able to pay it on the plan, you are able to do your vision, your dental, pay for some of your pharmacy prescriptions. You may not use it all, but it's a big bonus. How did that really stick out to me? And I brought this up last year, and the answer to the question was, well, Kelly Arden said we can't do it. I think there's probably more to it than that, because a lot of counties do it. So it can be done. Honestly, our guys would be smarter that are waiving their insurance and saving the county $10,000 apiece to sign up on the insurance, take the $1,700 you're going to give the people, and pay the $10,000 for their coverage that they're not going to use because they've already got coverage somewhere else. That would be smarter for them if really we're not going to listen to the, thank you for saving us the 10, but so, I'm not, and the insurance isn't the big thing, it's just one issue that you need to take that into your cap to consider. Franklin PD, I would have thought $25 an hour is out of line, but when you look at these other figures, no, they're right in line. And what I've said about the Simpson County Sheriff's Office since day one, Marty's the only one on the board that will remember day one of me walking in, is me saying, I never think we should be the highest paid agency in the area. I really don't. I live in Simpson County. I think we need to manage our money and we need to balance it. And that's me saying that against my employees, but I don't think we should be the highest paid. But I don't think we should ever be the lowest paid. We need to be somewhere in the middle. And that's up to you guys. And that's the truth. Everybody on this page is doing the same job. Logan County, Allen County, and then Simpson County is the lowest paid. We're not even close. The Titanic was sailing along and it saw this big glacier sitting there. They knew they were getting ready to hit a big chunk of ice floating around out there and it was going to sink them. Guy yells, there's an iceberg. They try to make adjustments and it's too late and they sink their ship. We're not on the Titanic, but if I was sitting on the bridge, I'm telling you there is an iceberg out there. We lost 20% of our people last year. We've got 2 that have come to me, and the only reason they are still with us that we have not lost is they're waiting to see what happens with the pay. I convinced them, please stay. Let's see what fiscal court does with your pay. So they've stayed. I think, and this is just me being honest, if you do not figure out something to do with the police officers' pay, my pay doesn't change. Mine's regulated by the state, I'm fine. And mine's equal to the other sheriffs for a county my size and portion. That we will continue. What Franklin is doing right now is they're waiting. When they have a spot open up, they pick my best officer and they will approach them and buy them. If you're into sports and you're hearing about all the NIL deals where you can buy college athletes right now, that's kind of what it is in the police profession. That does not mean that the people we have at the sheriff's office are not loyal. I've got 2 that put their lives on hold to wait to see what our answer is. So you need to really consider what you can do. In my opinion, if you don't do something major, we're going to hit the iceberg and sink. And what do I mean by that? I think we'll lose a few more officers this year. And it's getting hard to function because those officers we lost last year, I still don't have officers for them. I've hired 2. Remember, we talked about that. It takes a year to, they go to the academy in May. This whole 6 months, we've been sitting here with those 2 new officers at their academy dates in May. It'll be 2026 before they're taking calls on their own. By the time they get out, get off field training and all that. If we lose 2 more officers, we're in a critical stage. Ask yourself, and this is not about anybody being better than anybody, but when you had 5 young men in that car wreck the other night, your emergency responders did a fine job. Could one officer go to that call and manage that call and be able to do what they needed to do and not a bunch of other people get killed? No. Fortunately, we had 3 deputies out. Usually we only have 2 deputies, but we had 3 deputies out when that happened. And that was a godsend, because just trying to keep a car from coming over the hill and hitting the firefighters, the police, and everything else is a major incident. So you've got to have people working. The sheriff's office will continue to manage the law enforcement, which is not my responsibility. That's not a duty of the sheriff. I will continue to do that gladly, as long as I can have people to go to work. But when it comes where I know I'm putting people's lives in danger because I don't have enough deputies, because I can't hire them because of the pay, then I'll tell you it's time for y'all to figure what you want to do with law enforcement. And that's not a threat. Not a threat at all. I'm just telling you the truth. My time as sheriff is probably coming to a demise anyway, and I don't mean that anything bad. I got elected, and I'm carrying out my term just as I promised people, and I will make a decision at least a year out of whether I'm running again. But as I've told people, I'm probably at 90% retired. That's not about trying to keep me, I'm just saying, none of this is about me. But right now, you've got a good sheriff's office. It's been built to where it needs to be, but it doesn't take long to come down. I did add a couple of things in there, and what do I think will fix it? And this will show you, we're $6 off the mark. If you want to fix the problem, $6 is what you need. If you want to put a giant Band-Aid on it and keep us from sinking, $3 to $3.50. That will take us from being the worst paid agency to tie us up with Allen County, and I think people will stay at that. That doesn't mean occasionally we won't still lose somebody, but at least we're back in the ball game with them, okay? I think that will keep us from hitting the iceberg. $3 will keep us from hitting the iceberg and sinking, but you know there's other icebergs out there, which means you're going to hear me say in the future, our pay's still off, our pay's still off. I think the $6, which is a lot, but $6 puts you right there in the medium, and that's with Franklin PD. You're paying what Franklin PD is. The second page on there, and I won't go into it too much, would be, Mason had said a long time ago, and we've made them in the past, that would be a sheriff's office pay sheet and that's based, if there was a $6 pay increase for POP certified officers working the road, that's what your pay scale would look like from your years of service. Basically, you're getting a quarter for every year that you work past that. Person that had 25 years on would get up to the $32 mark is where they would be retiring at. Page 3 is a sheet that Nicole made. I can't speak for these figures. Nicole made those, but I believe them. Nicole is a very sharp young lady, and I'm sure what she has put on there is what it would take. And then I added a couple of sheets just so I know you guys believe the things that I tell you, but Oldham County sent something out on email the other day, and I just added that sheet that shows their starting pay. And you'll hear something. There's starting pay for a new officer, and then there is a lateral transfer. Lateral transfer means I'm a police officer somewhere, and I decide I want to come to work for you, and I contact you. Basically, within a week, 2 weeks, they can have me out answering calls, because all I've got to do is learn maybe what they do a little bit different, their paperwork flow, and they're out. But that was something we got that just shows $62,000 to $72,000 is the starting pay there when you figured in their clef. KSP, I sent you the back sheet. They're recruiting heavily right now. Basically, when you figure their clef and their per diem, it's $72,000 starting pay coming out of the academy. So, any questions that I can answer? I know that's a lot to take in, and it's not necessarily good news, but I would not be your sheriff and giving you the proper information if I didn't tell you exactly where things are at. My door is always open. Any of you that want to come talk to me personally, you're welcome to come in. The public's always welcome to talk to me personally. And any questions?
Now, just so it's clear, you don't have a boat at the sheriff's office, right?
I do not have a boat at the sheriff's office.
So if
I do have a personal boat I can get out in emergencies, but we rely on our fire department and search and rescue for their boat, yes. I love stories and analogies, and that's the best way to see something.
Well, I can
This
tell you,
budget that we're looking at now, I may be asking the wrong person, but this number here, what does that reflect?
Which number are we talking
The,
about?
the sheriff deputy salaries, I mean, what,
Just a 3.4% CPI across the board.
Sheriff, did you have an extra one of those handouts? If you
It's
don't, okay, Nicole said she has.
$184,000.
Okay, oh, she's, okay. Thank you, just for my file.
Which line, are you talking about 015015103?
Yeah.
Sir.
that number's not adding up right.
That's more like a,
What is it? Oh, because their spreadsheet was incorrect from last year, and we didn't include, the overtime wasn't included on their spreadsheet, so that's why the number is off. It's in addition, but you'll see that on his financial statement, where we've added so much money into his deputies, is because there was an error calculation on the spreadsheet, and it was not added in.
Okay, I mean, here it just shows us $184,000
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
And I just wondering about
Well,
that.
it's 3.4% across the board, and of course, the sheriff gave that spreadsheet to you all at the very beginning in January, but we did go back and readjust it all to 3.4. His staff works on it, sends it to me, I look at it, and so that's what that is.
So,
The overtime.
overtime's in there.
For some reason, the spreadsheet
okay,
did not add it in the correct count. It was listed, but it didn't get added in.
Well, Sheriff, I'm gonna tell you, last year I advocated for the dollar, and I was hoping we could do $1 every year to help, but it appears that that's not gonna be fast enough to do it. I don't know how the rest of the court feels, but I'll tell you, my personal opinion is, and I know we're gonna have to look at revenue too, but I'm looking at the $4, which would be about $200,000 increase. And that gets us within $2 of the city, and we may, you know, we've got areas that we can look at, and hopefully our industry will stay in here, but, you know, this interest money we're getting on the checking account, that can change dramatically and that's variable. You know, it isn't anything guaranteed for 5 years down the road that you're gonna get that much interest off of those checking accounts, but we're gonna have to look at revenue streams too, but in, you know, one block away for $6 an hour, I don't blame any of those guys that.
Well, there's a couple of things, and Mason and I had discussed this. It's not my job to fund the county, that's what you guys do, and I'm not trying to take that step. I can tell you, that we brought money to the table through grants at the sheriff's office. That helps, but it's still more money than what we're talking about. The opioid settlement, keep in mind, a good portion of that opioid settlement is the cost of law enforcement. That's what you got it for, and that's where it should be used. But as Mason pointed out, that's not long-term. That is there, but it's gone. It'll be gone, and I understand that, but I do think I need to point that opioid settlement, not all of it, but a good portion of it was for law enforcement. So, again, I'm not trying to fund it. I know your 911 fee, when that was originally established, the idea of that was for dispatch and emergency services. And I think that comes into play. And honestly, the fee that was on that is ancient. I think the fee that carried was back from the phones that transferred over to water meters, but I mean, you're going back in some time.
You're going back about 44 years,
Yeah.
about 1980. And so, yes, and Sheriff's right, he and I had a long discussion about a lot of this, and I agree with Marty. I think we've got to do something. I mean, let's think about this. We had deputies involved in a shooting where one of ours got shot and is still recovering. And that instance, the deputies had to end up, or they did end up, killing the individual. We had another deputy that had a vehicle exploded right by her out on the interstate. I mean, my point being, they're doing a job that very few people really want to do, and it's getting harder and harder to find them. And when the pay disparity for the same job down the road is what it is, it gets tougher and tougher by the minute. So, yes, the idea has floated about the opioid funds, about you know, just basically our rainy day funds. I'm very hesitant to ever want to fund any recurring expense out of non-recurring revenue, because once you add some kind of recurring expense and you try to fund it on non-recurring revenue, it's kind of like paying the minimum balance on your credit card every month. A payday's coming. So you've got to, I think if you're going to make some changes, you're going to have to figure out right up front how to make those changes. You've got some information here, and I'm in favor of this. I fully would be in favor of this. We've got currently, you see some information about how many water meters. We have 9,486 water meters that are currently being billed in the county. And where is that one sheet at? I think I got it on here somewhere. Water meter fees. Okay, so you see how many you've got county, city, and the way these numbers are derived is currently you were assessing $2 per meter. The water district actually assesses a 10% collection fee. So they charge for every $2, they're charging 20 cents to collect it and remit it to us. Thankfully, the city has agreed to collect and remit it at no charge. So we assess the $2 fee, we get the $2. Then we calculate that number based on roughly a 97% collection rate, because you're not going to collect 100% of the water, bills every month. But that's what you come at the number of meters, the collection rate, and the fee the district charges. The $2 generates a little over $212,000 per year. So you see that for every dollar of increase that the sheriff's road deputies would get is roughly $51,000. So you see there 3 years is roughly 153, $3, 153, $4 would be roughly 204. I personally have no issue. If we're going to use this for emergency service, I personally have no issue with taking that water, that 911 fee from the current $2, which it has been since 1980, and bringing that to $4. You're talking about $48 a year. Well, you're really talking about an increase of $24 a year to what you're currently paying. Now, to put that in perspective, if you made some kind of change with the health department tax and you moved it over, obviously you would gain, well, you wouldn't really gain the full, let me see, because I learned something this year. I mean, you're always learning, so I learned something this year I didn't know about the health department budget. 487, out of that 487, we would only get like a $471,000 gain. And the reason being, and I had no idea about this, when they assess us that money, they assess that money based on inventory in transit, and we don't collect taxes on inventory in transit. The city of Franklin doesn't, Simpson County Fiscal Court does not, the library board does, and the ambulance service does. Their tax that they assess they assess it on inventory in transit, which this year is like $73 million is the value on that. So at the 2.25% that the health department gives us, that $73 million is a little over $16,000 in revenue that we have to pay them that we're not getting any money on. And so I even had that conversation with the folks with DLG and at the health department. Like if we pulled the health department tax out and made it its own taxing line, just like the other, ambulance extension and all that. And this is a question probably too for the PVA, because she was who was telling me that collecting on the inventory in transit was a local option, and I don't know what that means by that. But the health department, would still give us the same sheet that we get every year that says, okay, here's the money you owe, okay? So we go through the tax collection process, which then the sheriff would be collecting that tax and having to remit it to the health department. So let's say that the number they gave us was the 487 that we've got to do this year. Well, we know immediately we're not getting that $16,000. I'm not 100% sure whether they would be able to assess it on that inventory in transit or not, but the point being, let's say they do. Let's say they are able to do it, but the collection rate is 95%. That other 5%, we still have to make up out of our budget, because unlike the other taxing districts, once they send us that sheet and the calculation of the total assessment of the county and what the county owes them, they're getting that number at 100% regardless what the tax collection rate is, and it's our responsibility as a fiscal court to make up that difference.
Even if they were their own taxing district?
Yes.
So when they set their rate to compensate for that?
Most of the other counties that have done, and when I say most of the other counties, understand that out of 120 Kentucky counties, when the three of us first started, there were only 6 counties in the state that did not have the taxing district. Now it's down to 4. Now, 4, at the time we started, 4 of the 6 were in the Brad. It was us, Metcalf, Hart, and Barron. Now, in the entire state, it's down to only 4 that do not have the health department taxing district. 3 of those are still in the Brad, us, Metcalf, and Hart. Barron changed theirs last year. And most counties will set their rate at like 2.5 or greater for the health department to try to cover those shortfalls in collections. But my point being this too, let's say we did that. Let's say we do move the health department to that line. And let's say that we move it to that line and we set it at 2.5. Now we're currently at 10 cents. Our total tax rate is currently 10 cents. And the full assessment of all assessments at 2.25%, the $487,000, we're pulling out of that 10% that we're collecting and sending it directly to the health department. Okay? But let's say that we take that and we pull it and we set it at 2.5%. Okay? And we don't change our rate at all, the 10%. Then you're looking at a true 2.5% tax increase. But looking at it even further, let's say we did reduce ours. Let's say we set theirs at 2.5 and reduced ours by 0.5% and set it at 9.5. So now what you're really doing is you're still a 2% tax increase. So to put it in perspective versus the water meter, a 2% tax increase, and I've just done all this. This isn't information that you see, I just wrote it now. I was sitting over here scribbling with my pen, writing this while we're talking. A 2% tax increase on a $200,000 property is costing that taxpayer $40 per year. If it's a $150,000 property, it's costing that taxpayer $30 per year. The $2 fee additional increase on the water meters only costing that individual $24 a year. And what you're getting with that is you're getting some renters who pay their own water bill that are helping pay, that aren't paying a nickel in property tax. And there's very few, I'm gonna suggest that there are very few properties left in Simpson County with an assessed value less than $125,000 to $150,000. So
Yeah.
the water meter fee, you can do it, we can make something work now, and it gives us a little time to think about what we really want to do with the health department tax.
I've never been a fan of a taxing district board it's made up of volunteers or appointed members. I don't like a board that can set tax rates that's not elected. I voted against the extension board when they did that, even though they lowered it. And I just don't like. And extension board is a fine board, but I just don't like people that are not elected because they don't have anything to answer to. and they have the ability to set tax rates. But I'm just one member of this court, but and we may have to do that in the future, but
And that's a great point, but do bear in mind though, Marty, that on the district health board, which the district can increase the rate that we owe the health department. Now, there's no discussion of that, but on the district health board, all 8 county judges from the 8 counties in the district are on that board.
Mhm.
So you would have to have some buy-in from the county judges to make that thing. But on the local board, if we wanted, so you don't have to establish a local health board because there's already one. But if the value of that rate was up to the local board, the county judge and one member of the fiscal court are appointed to the local health board.
And what I get, now, of course, I've been on,
But I'm with you.
5 years on that health board, and talking to Matt Hunt. Currently, we're paying 2.25%.
1.8 of that's assessed by the state,
Exactly.
0.45 by the district.
So in talking to Matt for these last 5 years, and this is what, to me, is strange. And we'll be asking him, what, next week? We got a meeting next week, is that right?
I think it's next week.
He'll tell me, because I always ask him every year, where do we really need to be? And he's somewhere around 3.3, 3.4, so,
Well,
you
I
know,
think the
Marty, I
average
agree.
across the-
I mean, if we create them a taxing district, they'll start it at a rate.
Well, I think we get to set it if we establish it by resolution or ordinance.
We'll establish the beginning of it, but
Yes.
they'll have the ability to raise that rate. And I would anticipate that to raise a little bit. Great deal.
And I
Matt's
think
doing a fantastic
I think
job.
the state average is right at 5%.
It is, yep.
How much can they increase? I know
It can
everything else can
it
go
to
4%.
10 cents.
First time.
Well, okay, so like, here's what happens. So you have to, the health department, and I've explained this a number of times, the 2.25 that they assess at is based on 1.8 set by the State Department of Public Health, okay? And that State Department of Public Health is not an elected official, but that Department of Health Board can say tomorrow, we want that rate to be 2.5 cents.
Yep.
No one gets to vote on that. And it would go from 2.5 plus the district's 0.45, and we'd go to 2.95 like that. And that's what we would have to pay. So now, I guess they haven't done that in years and years. I mean, it's been several years since the Department of Health has made an increase to that. But those are the 2 ways the rates can be changed. Well, really 3 ways. The State Department of Public Health can say, okay, it should be X, and that's what we're going to assess. The district, every health district, which, you know, out of the 10 counties in the Brad, Monroe County still has their standalone health department, and Allen County still has their standalone health department, but the other 8 counties in the Brad all make up the Barren River Health District, and those 8 counties and a district board. And we have an appointment to that too. I mean, every county judge is on that, plus they all have a county appointment. Dr. Ronnie Crocker is our appointment to the district health board. So that district can say the tax rate, we need to increase from this 0.45 to whatever. Or then on the local district, which is the judge, a magistrate, and all Simpson County residents that are appointed to that, most that are associated in some way with the medical profession, they can also establish a rate change if it is a line item. Now, they can't. I don't think we can assess a rate change currently because it's not a local line item. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the district can change it. But if we establish a local line item, then the state, the district, or the local, any of the 3 could increase that rate.
I would agree that we're going to have to look in that direction. And then getting back to something Mason said, when, you know, if we don't reduce the property tax, because currently right now we're operating, on 7.75%, actually what we're
We're
Somewhere there about.
actually operating on 7 3/4 less, roughly $17,000.
So, we've got to show the public, where this money's going. And obviously, we've got to put more money into our sheriff's department. But we got other departments here today that we're gonna have to do this. The rate may be different, but we got areas we're still gonna have to do that, and we will here soon. And of course, without having another revenue stream, and this would be a revenue stream, it's kind of like what Jerry D said, you know, we can take money out of general fund, but man, we see an iceberg down the road, and we'll see that.
Yeah,
So-
I'm not in favor of pulling out of excess revenue, you know, rainy day fund, I'm not in favor of coming up on any recurring expenses without some recurring source of
And
revenue.
of course, today, if we don't take action on that today, we're going to have to do that. We're going to have to, and so I guess I'm supporting Mason of looking into creating Simpson County Health Department as a taxing district. Now, I know there's nuts and bolts we've got to work out of that, but I think the writing's been on the wall for a few years.
Yeah, I tried it 6 years ago.
Boy.
And 5 years ago.
So are you saying do that instead of the water meter?
The water meter, now you guys got my train of thought sometimes not necessarily with everybody else.
Mine ain't either.
But what I'm thinking is with KSP, I know since 2011, we've not had any type, and I ask Mason every year, of some financials, since we've been in office, and he's got none.
They won't get,
So-
they say they don't have it.
I probably would be in favor of raising $1. And let's go on with the health department as a taxing district. Because I personally think that KSP is going to set their rates based on our collection. I'm sorry, but it's just the way I think.
Well,
Because they give us no financial support. We don't have anything to back up how much money that they're collecting off our cell phone bills. We have nothing.
We
And
know
Mason
it ha-
asked every year for it, and he gets absolutely nothing.
We know it has to be a lot. I mean, the last full year we have of that's 2010, which was the year prior to it going to.
I'm going to say they're getting enough money to pay for it, but we have no way to knowing that.
Well, here again, Myron, I don't know that I would go that far.
Well, that may be.
Because Logan County and Allen County both are still operating their own 911 dispatch. And I'm not talking about equipment costs, just operation cost and personnel. They're both between $700,000 and $800,000 a year, just in operation cost of their own 911. So, I mean, they would have to be getting $500,000 in cell phone revenue for us to be paying $700,000, and I doubt they're getting that much.
I mean, it would be nice to know. but
It would be
here-
great to know, and I can't believe there's no way to not be able to get that information, but they claim there's not. I mean, I guess if you wanted to, like, sue the state and subpoena a bunch of records, I guess we could probably get it, but here's the thing. I'm not opposed to any or all of this. But I'm trying to think about how I want to say this and it come out right.
Well, while you're thinking, when we talk
You go
about
ahead.
about that health department tax, the only way I would really support doing that is if we were gonna fund that full-time fire department that we talked about. That's using for public safety. We're half funded now. So if we could fund the full-time fire department with that would be fine.
Then we need to start considering Simpson County's role in public safety and maybe start reducing our contribution to SRO officers up at high school.
I can't support that either.
Yeah.
I mean, you just look at the article that was just in the paper about a kid getting beaten in the head with a Stanley Cup, you know, I mean.
get that, Marty,
I can't pull any kind of safety away from the schools.
but we don't have a $40 million budget either.
Well,
We don't have a $40 million budget.
Okay, I'll try to say this.
But anyway, I didn't really want to get off.
Yeah,
on
I'll
that,
try to
you
say
know.
this in a way that hopefully it'll make some sense. As y'all are well aware, here, I'm gonna back up again. I don't think anybody sitting back here, especially me, but I think all of us, I don't think any of us are in favor of increasing any kind of tax rate or fee. I don't think there's one of us here that wants to make any kind of increase. But here's the reality of where we're at. The reality of where we're at is employee costs are more, and they continue to go up. And I'm going to say some things, and I hope none of y'all are offended, because I don't mean it to offend any of y'all, but y'all all have heard me say that we're going to have to be very careful with what we're doing, because we're eventually going to start getting less money to operate our roads. And that's played out over the last few years, that the reduction in what we're getting to maintain our roads, that money's gone down. So what has Bobby and the road crew done? They've done less work, because we've not taken the reduction that they've taken and bolstered that with general fund revenue. So, I mean, my point being, we're funding the road department actually less money now than we were just a couple of years ago. And not because we're not funding it, it's just because they're getting less of the revenue source that they were getting, and y'all have heard me talk about that. So my point being, everything we do is going to cost more. You know, daggone property and casualty liability insurance went up 19%. I mean, I don't know how we stop it. And I mean, I don't know that, I mean, you could go bid it out year after year after year. I don't know that it's going to change. I mean.
well, we was just talking about the school there. So the superintendent told me that.
Oh, yeah, this is crazy.
Their property insurance went up 25%. But where they had a $10,000 deductible, it went to
Which a 20% deductible on buildings of certain dollar
It
value.
went to a percentage of the cost of the building. And so just on the high school, he said their deductible went from 100,000 or 10,000 to like 400,000.
Yeah.
Just, you
That's
know,
the
so
that's the deductible.
that's
that they
just their
got.
deductible.
Well, of course,
So
that's
this
what I was talking about
insurance
with
is-
you.
Yeah.
I mean, that 1% that they're doing with us, too.
Yeah, they're kind of doing a little bit of the same with us. It just ain't that big a number with us just yet. But back on my train of thought and my point here, everything has cost more. And what we've done since my time here, we have increased the occupational tax by 1/4%. We have decreased the property tax by 0.5%. And I wasn't necessarily always in favor of that, because what happens is, as we find out, and we did find out the last couple of tax years, you know, we went from 10.5 to 10.3 to 10.1 to 10, and then you get to the point that your compensating rate is even lower, and you can't even your compensating +4 is still lower than where you're at. And we should have been recovering some of that money off of growth and leaving our tax rate kind of, you know, so that's a spot we find ourselves in. It's unimaginable to me that the leaders of the community some 44 years ago, when we decided that the best way to fund the 911 operation was by a $2 fee, and they done it, I get it, they done it on the phone because everybody's calling 911 on their telephone. So, and everybody had a telephone.
Yeah, everybody had a
In 1980, everybody had a telephone, so that was their reasoning, I'm sure. But the unimaginable part is that that's 44 years ago, and that rate has not increased to this day. I mean, you can't sustain what you're doing without some increase. I mean, you talking about employee pay. Let's take employee pay back to 1980 and see how long we make it. You think we got sheriff's deputies walking out to go to Franklin PD or Bowling Green PD or Logan County? We'd have every employee walking out just to go somewhere. They'd go to McDonald's and work if we went back to 1980.
I just wish we could take the health insurance premiums back in 1980.
I mean, but my point is, there's got to be some way to compensate for what you do. Y'all have also heard me say this, so you're probably sick of hearing me say it. Public safety is our number one priority. Emergency responders, the guys, when we make that 911 call, and God forbid that anyone in this room will ever have to make a serious 911 call, but when you make that 911 call, the expectation is that somebody in a police cruiser, a fire truck, or an ambulance is showing up out there. So here's where I'm at. Not that I like it, not that I really want to do it, but here's where I think we should be. I think we should give serious consideration to moving the 911 fee from $2 to $4. I think we should give, I mean, honestly, as much as I hate it, I think we should do it. That's what I think. And I think we can, because the 911 fee, anything we assess for 911 can be used for the operation of 911 dispatch services or emergency services. So if we needed money for Sheriff's Department, if we needed money for the fire department, we can get that through the 911 fee. That money can be used for any emergency service. Then I think what we really need to do is start getting an evaluation on, Myron, and I don't disagree that we have other departments, other places we need to make increases. I think we need to start getting some real numbers together and entertain what we could do with that health department tax. I don't know that we can get both of those done in this cycle right at the moment.
Probably can't.
But I think we need to do the 911 fee now and start working out a plan for the health department tax and figure it out. And honestly here, and I do agree with where Marty's at on the creation of another tax district. I don't even mind taking a look at it, and rather than separate it, if we need to get our tax back to the 10.5 cents that it was 6 years ago, instead of the 10 cents it's currently at, maybe that's what we need to look at doing. I don't know.
Well, what are we gonna do? What's everybody's thoughts on the health insurance?
Because that's the thing.
Well, I mean, I'm the only one that said,
Yeah.
Where's everybody at on the sheriff's deputies? Because and this is pretty much, we're gonna try to get numbers together today and come back with what we talked about today, right?
Yeah.
Well, we've got I've got other things that, as we move on with this budget, that might reflect even more of revenue, where we're gonna get revenue. So I'm a little bit reluctant on saying, yeah, that $4 is gonna work, because we got a fire department that I really feel like we need to bolster their pay up this fiscal year. We got a jail employees that I really feel like we need to bolster their pay up this year, for this next fiscal year. So we may have some more talking. I'm not against that. I mean, I tell you what, the sheriff, they're the first ones on the line. But so is our fire department in certain areas. And of course, the jail is a recipient of our law enforcement. So I feel like we're probably going, I don't know where we're going to get any more adjustments, but I feel like we could have to adjust.
Well, I honestly, I don't really have any more topic of discussions, but if you want to talk about some of that.
And there's one other question. I just want to make
but I want to make sure that we're all clear on one thing. And y'all know I'm 100% behind our emergency response, public safety sector. And I'm 100% behind every county department, what we do. Now, I've heard me say this a million times. Every job is important, but every job's not equal. All jobs are not the same. The sheriff's department that I'm aware of, I'm not saying it's the only department losing people, but it's the only department losing people to go do the very same job in a different agency, that we're having trouble getting people back to do that job to cover the people that are leaving.
All those agents,
Eric, I know people are leaving the jail, but they're not all leaving to go to work at another jail.
majority of them are. All those agencies that I listed are competitors of ours, but Franklin PD, and this is against Franklin PD, they happen to be in the same town. We don't get great recruitment from outside Simpson County. There's not a lot of people whose dream is to become a police officer in Franklin, Kentucky. You're not from Franklin, or you're not brought here by your family for some reason, you're not supposed to come here. Now, every now and then we'll come across somebody that says it's a beautiful place, I do want to live here, but, usually if you're from Bowling Green, your biggest recruiter is going to be Bowling Green PD and Warren County Sheriff's Office. We have lost somebody in Warren County before, but it's on a rare occasion. Our problem is Franklin PD. And I can't criticize Franklin for paying what they are. As you look at the rate, they're competitive and they're in the middle. I can tell you what I won't read the text between me and the chief about the last one I lost, but basically he's like, yeah, you got good people and we're not ashamed to take it. But he meant it in a positive way. He wasn't putting us down. He was like, it's a credit to the sheriff's office that y'all are bringing in good people and training them and getting them good, but, you know.
We got to retain.
But we would do the same thing if we paid more. I mean, if they had somebody, they paid less than us, you would probably look at their
I would.
employees, if you needed somebody.
Yeah. To some degree, but
Yeah.
I'm not reflecting bad at the city. I don't want that to come across.
No.
I'm attacking them. I'm not. But that is a problem. Two agencies, and all places are like that. Like I said, if you don't believe me, look at the rates. Bowling Green PD versus Warren County Sheriff's Office. They're in the same county. They have to compete against each other. They've got to be in the ballpark together. We have to be in the ballpark with Franklin PD. I can survive. I told you $3 to $4. Barney said four would be great. We'll survive well for the next few years at that. We'll still be behind the curve, but I do enough. We can be behind the curve and survive. But you start getting much below that 3, I'm not just making it up. You're going to have people going out the door, and we can't replace them. And when I can't replace them, like I said, it is no threat. I'll focus on the sheriff's office duties, which is not law enforcement. If I can't put a unit out on the road because we don't have the money back, my recruitment efforts at our current pay and even with the increase coming outside trying to pull you in, is I would love the guy that's leaving in August. I would love to be able to find somebody that's already POP certified to put out on the road. I'd love that. But it's hard to convince anybody to come down here and the pay where it's at. At $4, I may be able to get a POP, may not. May still have to send somebody to the academy. But we'll function because we're not going to lose other people. Might still lose one the next year, but we're not going to lose. Like I said, I've got 2 that are waiting. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's not a 3rd and a 4th that just hadn't come to me and talked to me about it. So that's, I do know the city, and y'all are running mechanism. The city takes their police department pretty serious, but they have means in place because they recognize, now, they don't have anything other than police officers. I've got other employees, we've already talked about that. I don't see all people as equal. I think everybody's very important in their job, but a police officer and a firefighter are different exceptions. And the city does have a means, I believe I was once told, like the alcohol tax.
Yeah.
A good portion of that has to be used straight for law enforcement. So how are they able to fund it? Y'all are the creators. Y'all got a 911 team. I'm not pushing that. What I'm saying is you have to be creative too. You've got law enforcement and fire department that are emergency services. That doesn't mean other places like you talked about, the health department and such. I'm not criticizing the people in jail. I'm not criticizing Bob's people. They all do a fine job. But I've given you the figures for law enforcement. They pull figures for their people. But Bobby does have, like the city road department. I don't know how much competition there is there. Eric's got a regional jail or other jails in the area. It's being in the same city with somebody that's going to Soon as I got off the position, I said,
But Sheriff, you are correct. A large percentage of the alcohol tax in the city of Franklin can be used for law enforcement. And the people paying that tax are willing customers, whereas the water meter and the property tax, you're not always a willing customer.
honestly, I don't know how many people have ever thought about it, but next time, if you drink, say that you buy a six-pack of beer, actually look at the bottom and you see the additional tax. on there.
8 cents per dollar. Because that's the maximum the state will let you set it. I guess we have another source. We're going to be talking about medical marijuana, and if we want to take it, we can assess a fee to that. If we want to operate it, we can put a fee on that if we want to. But I think I think there's a lot more discussion about that needs to be had than how much revenue it might generate. So
Something
y'all
that
have-
might offset cost, and I just see where you're at on this, if you would even consider, on like your vehicles, like if you might drop one of those off, then,
I can, but here's the problem, and again, this is on y'all, I don't mind taking a vehicle out, I'm fine with it. That's not gonna fix it long term, and the problem that we battled for years was having pieces of junk.
right.
And we finally.
I don't think we've got that now.
We stepped to the table and we fixed the problem.
Right.
So if we start taking vehicles out, we're going backwards, and we're not, what we had there was fund 4 vehicles. One of those is being paid for by the school resource officer. One of those, remember the incentive program we had to flip a vehicle and sell it while it was still in really good
Right.
shape and be able
Yep.
to almost buy it?
Yep.
That was it. And then the two vehicles funded by the county to keep our fleet up. That's how we came up with the forward. Could we take one out? Yeah, y'all give the guys a raise. But what you're gonna find, anytime you take something away, you're gonna come back the next year, and what you're gonna hear is, hey, our vehicles are starting to get bad, this is
Right.
why I need. And, you really gotta be progressive. Franklin, whether you like it or not, Nashville's coming, Bowling Green's coming, we're growing. We need to go from a 16-man agency to a 17-man agency.
You got 16 now.
Yeah, we got 16, when we're fully, right now, we're online to add a 17. You can tell me to take that out, that's a little money we can save, but I'm gonna tell you what, we're gonna have trouble making it.
Don't come back.
It takes, that 17th person's gonna be a year out.
Right.
But every time you talk about a number, you gotta have a vehicle, you gotta have the equipment to put them in.
Yep.
So we don't really wanna take steps back. We could.
Yep.
Like I said, I wanna give you the truth, because if I retire in 2 years, most of these problems I won't see. I can tell you, we won't buy any one of the 4 cars, and we'll get through 2 years, and my life will be much easier, because y'all get the raise. And then what you're gonna have, when half of y'all retire, whoever's sitting there is gonna have a big old mess on their hand, because you got vehicles that are breaking down, you got, it all.
I've dealt with a sheriff with bad vehicles before, and it's never a good thing. It just causes all kinds of problems.
Myron, did you say you had a question?
Yeah. The employee resolution that we voted on in March, March the 5th, court meeting. Was there 3.4% added to that increase of pay as well?
Yeah, every employee.
So, I mean, March 5th, certain employees got a raise, and then their July 1st, there's a raise on top of that raise.
Yep.
That's in here.
Yes.
Tough budget.
I know it won't make a whole lot of money, but the line item in the fire department budget where we were holding that money back for the vehicles, it's not on any interest right now. So should we look at doing something to put that on interest. I know, I mean, it'd be a little bit of money for the interest off of that,
That
but
prior year carryover money that we're carrying over with the fire department, what he's
Yeah,
talking.
I had mentioned that last year to the fire department, but they were at a standstill that maybe they weren't ready to do that yet.
I mean, if we
So I
did
don't
it
know
on,
if it's changed this
if we did it
fiscal
on a
year.
6-month CD, and if it had, something had to come out before the CD expired, and instead of paying a penalty, you could pull the money out of general just until that CD, and then take the CD and put it back in general, but it's, I don't know what the CD's now, 5%?
I mean, we did pull, what was
Roughly.
it, like 500,000 out of last year's, where we did add an additional 500,000 to that $1 million CD. So, I mean, we did pull at least 500,000 out, just, you know, with the general fund. But the money you all have built into that fire vehicle that carries year over year over year, that's the money I had asked about last year, you know, if you all were gonna be strapped for this fiscal year to use that. If not, we can put it into a CD to earn interest, you know.
And it wouldn't be taking the money, the interest to fund anything else. It would be, you could add that
Specifically
interest
for
onto
that.
that line item, so it would actually be creating you a little more money every year for your equipment line item.
We can look at that, because generally, you know, we don't pay for the vehicles until it gets there. And they're 2-year deals on, you know, we are set to buy a brush truck this year, so it will be a little quicker, so I can see what the lead time is on that.
Okay.
See if we can safely, you know, do that. But,
Well, like I say, if it was,
we definitely have to look into it and have a further conversation.
if that money was on in a CD, and
Yeah.
you're 3 months from it expiring and you needed to buy a truck, you could pull the money out of the general fund until that CD expired, and then you could, you know, it'd be the same difference, it just helped create you a little bit of interest, that's all I was thinking about.
Did you not say that money had to be there, otherwise,
It does, and that's why I said, and that's what you all were hesitant on,
As
because,
soon as we write the
Yeah.
PO for that, which they
Yeah.
have to have to start the bill,
Yeah.
it would pretty much, it would wipe a lot of that out.
Well, what Marty's saying, if it was tied up in a CD and we get to the point that we have to order the truck and issue the PO, we could transfer money from cash reserves to cover it till the CD matures.
which would take, fiscal court, I mean, you know, just planning the whole fiscal court.
You're still
out
gonna have the line item in
Get
your
us back
budget.
in there,
I don't
so.
see that being a problem. I mean, money's, as long as money, he is correct, I mean, it has to be there when he gets you PO. As long as there is money out there in general that we can do short-term recovery.
You used to not think about stuff like this when we were looking at those 0.2 and 0.3% interest rate, but with 4 and
The 4 and 5 is
5%,
a little different.
you know, it makes a difference.
It is built up to an appreciable amount, because we've not purchased anything yet. We're waiting for it to get up.
And Nicole, here's a quick question I have for you, because I don't know the answer to this. When the health department sends this assessment to us, do we pay that in one payment, or do we pay it quarterly?
Quarterly.
Okay, here's the reason I asked that question, and the reason, guys, that I think we need to really think about, if we want to go that route, we need to start working on that now, because here's going to be the problem, I think, if we implement that into this current fiscal year budget, is we won't start collecting the money till in October, and we're going to be on the hook for those quarterly payments up front. So it's something that if we think we're going to make that change, we need to start working on that before we're at this point in
I don't
the
think we
budget
have a
cycle.
choice.
Huh?
I don't think we have a choice.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it's required that we pay it quarterly, because they don't like send us a bill or anything, that's just kind of what we've
Well,
always
the reason I
done.
asked that question, because when I was talking to Matt about it, he said, I would always caution a court to be sure that they can still handle their quarterly payments if they make
Okay.
this change.
Okay, see, I didn't know if you had that discussion with
Yes.
them on what they prefer.
That's the reason I was asking, do we
what
pay
other
them quarterly?
options,
So
yeah.
I figured evidently we did.
That's something maybe, Mason, you could verify with Matt and kind of see.
I mean, we can verify all of that, and Matt would be glad to come and talk to us in a court meeting to explain in more detail things that I don't know and understand about it, that he would be glad to come and explain to us. I just don't know that we can implement it at this point and realize the complete benefit of it in this fiscal year.
If we do the water meter tax,
I don't see how, I
we're
don't think
talking
we
about.
could we? We couldn't do it.
if we,
Not the full benefit
No,
of it.
no. We might see part of it, but we're not gonna see all of it.
if there was a $2 fee put on the water meter, on all the water meters, and from the numbers that were showed here, that would be $212,000 a year.
Yep.
To give the sheriff's department road deputies, not everybody at the sheriff's department, just the road deputies, to get them up close to what the city's making, that's $204,000. So if we were gonna do, if you're looking at doing something with the health department, we would need to have it, not just saying, we need some more money, what does the county need the money for? You know, and lay it out there like that, because, I mean, that's $400 and something thousand. I mean, what is the plans other than saying we need some more money, you know what I'm saying?
I would say bolster up our jail and our fire department.
Yeah, and there's also always roads. I mean, they're
Roads,
cutting
I mean-
funds that we're gonna have to have.
But that, I mean, but
That's.
how much?
Yeah,
You know, like I say, you've got the fees there with the water meter, but how much to the jail? How much to the fire department? I mean, if you're gonna do it, I'd like to see those numbers.
And that's what I'm saying, the reason I think we may have to work on this and incorporate it into the next budget is because I'll just say this, I don't want to just arbitrarily say, we want the health department and we want to do it where we can cover the shortfall in collection at 2.5 cents and leave ours at 10 cents, which is essentially a 2.5 cent tax raise, and unless we know exactly where every penny of that's targeted to go.
That's my point.
So get the information together on where do we need to be and what do we need to do, and we start getting this together to go into the next fiscal year to hit those targets. But I think we can do the water meter fee now and get what we've got to cover law enforcement wise. That's just my thinking. And we can get Matt in here to come down here and explain to us how this all really works and what happens. Because he said I believe I'm correct in saying this, I think he said he had to go to the Barron County Fiscal Court 2 different meetings to address questions and concerns, because Barron County done this they got a new judge in her first term last year, and so they done all this last year in Barron County.
Like you said earlier, you and I are on the health board, and we've been talking about this since we've been in office. So this is something that just didn't spring up overnight. I mean, it's something that we talked about it last year.
Oh, yeah, we talked about it a lot.
Of course, like Mason said earlier, I mean, the cost of doing business, retainage, insurance, I mean, our overheads eat this from the inside out.
So what do we want to do with the health insurance? Do we leave it at $900 and the employees absorb the $40 hit, or do we bring it to $950?
Personally, I think we take it to the $950. But there again, I'm one vote.
Yeah, okay, so at nine, if we take it to $950, then we need approximately $4,000 to balance this budget with no other changes.
Well, the interest off that fire department money.
Maybe.
Well, that's gonna stay with fire.
Yeah, it stays at the fire.
If you have a willingness to take that meter fee to 4, that's $212,000. So if you pulled 4 out of that to balance, you're at $208,000 remaining out of that money. If you've done a sheriff's road deputy increase of 3, that pulls 153 out of that, leaving 55. Or if you go to 4, you're back to having about $4,000 to the good.
There again, I think it should be at the 4.
If we're gonna pay, if the meter fee is raised, that covers it. And I don't have a problem. I think it'll be easy to explain, we did it, and this is what we're using it for. And this is why those deputies the road deputy needed to raise. You know, all the court security's not getting it, and, you know, not everybody at the sheriff's department is getting it, it's just those road deputies.
I have no issue with that, but I do think we need to get Matt down here, and we need to start working on where do we go from here, because there are, I mean, you're not wrong, Myron, and there's other issues that need to be addressed. I just don't know that we can address them all at this minute.
Totally agree. I think back a year ago when we had our budget workshop, and we discussed on giving our hourly firefighters, at that time, we just, is out on the table, $1 an hour raise. Well, we put that off until we as a group said we're going to wait till September, which the city was involved in that in some sort of way. So here we are a year later, and that money is still not there.
But can I ask the chief a question real quick? In this new model that we're going to be moving to, and these guys have how much longer before they're back here?
They're at well, May 17, and then we've got about another 4 weeks of just some in-house training things. So the June 23rd is our target date.
Now, when we go to that model, I mean, I know hourly rate, because, see, here's the crazy thing. Now, when we go to that model, if you start looking at hourly rate, your eyeballs are going to pop out of your head, because the hourly rates are going to be different, but the salaries are going to actually increase, correct?
They're going to do what, sorry?
I said if we just look at hourly rates, once we go to that 24/7 model, if we just purely look at hourly rates, everybody's eyes would cross and go like, what are y'all doing? But the actual pay would be an increase over what they're currently receiving on the 40-hour week model.
The number of hours they're working is greatly increased as well. So when you break it down, I mean, the guys are not going to be making any more money by going to a 24-hour shift per se than they would be if it was apples to apples. Because they are going to be working more than 2,912 hours in 24 model, 2,080 hours in a 40-hour model. So it wasn't necessarily that when we made the transition, we were looking at a pay increase with that. So what we tried to do to set this scale up was figure out about, you know, I was trying to get where it was apples and apples and make that comparison to switch it up. So it's not that they're getting a pay increase per se. They are going to be making more money, but they're going to be working, 800 more hours a year.
Right.
So they're going to be earning that money. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's something that I was considering. And also now, we're skipping around here, but the jail. Y'all's proposed budget, what did you have in y'all's budget as far as employee raises?
Had 3.4% plus $2 an hour for the hourly employees.
So y'all's budget versus the court's budget was $66,000 difference and some change?
Yes, sir. I was looking at the court's budget, and the code has $35,000 carryover, but she knows better than I was, maybe I haven't done it. So there's $35,000.
And last year was 130 or more than that, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
It's whatever the balance is in the checking account at the end of the fiscal year.
I mean, we have transferred that money.
Yeah, we have. We just did for payroll. Yeah,
Okay.
I just did, yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, it's just prior year carryover, but I had to have it in payroll and, because it's running over. And medical, the change in medical that we just had, with the additional.
But I trust the code's numbers.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
And she and I have been doing budgets for 20 years, and, I mean, we're within a rounding error of each other.
So I noticed that we got a vehicle request in that budget of $43,000 for a vehicle. I mean, right now, and I don't know I don't know how urgent it is for a vehicle. That part I don't know.
We gave up two last year, and, we just need to put another one in, because some of ours is getting wearing back, we're running all that.
So, do we have to have, I mean, I'm gonna get, Jerry D made a good point about the vehicles. You know, we don't need to get behind on that, but we do have some figuring out we've got to do between now and probably the best we can do is get this health department budgeted in, whatever we're gonna do for the next fiscal year. We're probably not gonna have enough time. Can we skate by a year without a vehicle?
If it means taking care of my employees and getting them where they need to be, we suffered through last year. We suffered, and we're still suffering. If it means getting my people's pay where it needs to be, take the vehicle out, we make it out.
I think the bulk of our discussion today, the most critical thing we've got going on right now is the cost of our employees and retaining employees and insurance, the whole ball of wax. You know, like what Marty said, you know, if we do have additional revenue that we could use from the health department tax, I don't think it's going to be any problem whatsoever of designating where that money's going to go.
That's always the problem, is there's always a willingness to spend some money somewhere. That's the problem.
I mean, that's not going to be a problem.
Yeah, no, but I mean, that is the problem. The problem is, in government, there's always a willingness to spend the money somewhere. So we need a solid plan on what exactly are we spending the money on. Because if we say, and when I'm saying, I'm not arguing with you when I say this, Myron, I'm just pointing something out. If we say, okay, we want to do this, this, and this, what are the costs associated with that? So do we actually need a 2.5% tax increase, or should it just be 1.5%? You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because if what we really want to target is 1.5%, but we take 2.5%, the inherent problem of government is you always find somewhere to spend it.
Yeah, but we've got some areas we've got to spend money on our employees. We have to. We've got to retain them. We have to do that.
We got to work on keeping on, we got to work on continuing to obtain and progress economic growth initiatives too. We can't turn those kind of things away and expect to have more revenue to do more things. I mean, that's a reality too, because if you're going to keep pace, I mean, as much as everybody, we talked about growth a while ago, as much, and the sheriff, I think, is the one that said that Nashville's coming up this way and Bowling Green's coming down this way, and then we have a whole group of people that's just like, I don't want anything to change. Well, guess what? If it doesn't change, all these things that we're talking about in here aren't going to be able to change either. I mean, it takes money to make it happen, and you either have more revenue coming in because you have more activity, or you're having to tax the fewer people that you have more to get that revenue.
I think we can look at our financials and say that when we took office, we're much better today than we were much better.
We're in much better shape.
So,
but if we started looking at cash reserves and saying, okay, we're going to use cash reserves to do this and this and this, and those things you're doing are all recurring expenses. I mean, in this budget right here, if we took today, and here's another thing about a budget too, you're never going to hit 100% of your revenue numbers, and you're never going to hit 100% of your appropriation numbers. But if we took this budget that we're looking at today, and we made the change in the water meter fee, and we went with the $950 for the health insurance so that the employees don't absorb any additional cost there, and we went with the $4 an hour for the sheriff, then on paper, anyway, this budget generates $4,000 in excess revenue, okay? Well, you can't take that $4,000 and plan on it being there, or if it's even $40,000, or even if it's $140,000, you can't take that number and plan on that number being there every year.
And that holds true with a lot of areas in our government. I mean, we just can't.
Right.
So,
But you're right, we won't have any trouble spending it.
no, I mean, yeah. Our generators of money is much less than, the county's generator of money is a lot less than the city's. I'm not saying Franklin or Simpson County, but all counties in the state of Kentucky have got less ways of generating revenue than the city does. And
if you just look back over here, in, I don't know, we're not numbered by pages, but in the pages where the health department is, you know, there's $570,000 in what I call community services. There's $570,000 in those first two lines that we're funding with the health department and soil conservation. And then these indigent legal fees and services to indigents, you know, that number has kind of increased over the years. It's at 12.5 now, and that's an obligation that we have to cover that the cities, and I don't mean just the city of Franklin, but the cities in general don't have an obligation to cover that at all. Meaning that someone that can't afford a burial, we have to pay for it. If someone has a court cost that has been levied to them and they have no way to pay it, we have to pay it. That's where that money goes. Is that pretty accurate, Nicole? So then you get into these others, like we're putting $1,500 in the senior program, we're putting $28,000 in the Boys and Girls Club, $1,000 in project graduation, and then the youth work training, the on-track scholarship contribution, $10,000. I mean, that's to get kids to come out of the high school to go to CTC and actually learn a trade, which I think is pretty important. Obviously Parks and Rec are in there too. That's $244,000. My point being, if you pull out the health department, which we have no, I mean, we could say today, we don't want to do it. Well, tough, we have to do it. The soil conservation, I mean, we could take it back to the $40,000 it was when we got here. But we've made
it 27 before.
Yeah, but we've made them a commitment to try to get them to a level that they can do more for the community, and I think they're doing a good job. And then you take the park out. If you take those three things out, you're talking about 9, 19, 28, 48, 49, 56. You're talking about, in community fees, we're paying about $62,000, $63,000 a year.
plus the money that we send funneled through the industrial authority as well. I mean, we're talking about gobs of money.
What do you mean funnel through the industrial authority?
We pay money from here that goes to the industrial authority, and then it goes out from that.
You're talking about on the occupational tax?
Yes, on occupational tax. That's our biggest generator of money right there, the occupational tax.
Yeah, by far. Yeah.
But
my point being, this $50,000, $60,000 right here, it's not like we're wasting money. If we cut out every one of these, minus the health department, which we can't cut, minus the soil conservation in the park, if we cut out every one of those others, I mean, we gather $56,000.
I mean, we could cut out the soil conservation in the park.
We could cut them all. I mean,
I'm not saying we're wasting any money. I'm not saying that, Mason.
Right.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, I mean, here, of course, it's a short-term fix. $43,000 for a vehicle. If you don't buy that vehicle and that money goes to employees, then the following year, you're coming back on that vehicle.
we're just not keeping up with things.
So, you know,
And, last year we took a dip. It's been a struggle. It's gonna continue to be a struggle. I sit here, employees going to other agencies and going, like-minded, employment. There's 13 on this list right here, and I can call them by name, and you know most of them. These are, as Jerry D says, matter of fact, Jerry D's got 3 of them. As Jerry D says, the quality employees, the ones you want to retain, the ones you want to keep. Well, they're leaving me to go to him, or I got Franklin PD on here too. There's 3 of those. I'm fighting the same battle. And if I don't do something, we're going, I shouldn't say that, I'm going to I keep my mouth shut on that. We're going to be in trouble. We're in trouble, man. I don't even know my last 5 spots, last name. Because when I meet them, they're gone. I'm sitting here, you see all these slips? That's just this week. That's just this week.
no, what is that? What is,
Quitting, gone.
oh, okay,
Another thing we get into, Myron, is when we take these people in to train, we are training them in-house as opposed to sending people out. But those hours that they spend training there probably cost the county $2,000 per person. That's training. That's just what we are required to do, not what we put in, in the commissary on the extra. And if we lose these people, we lose that $2,000. We've had several people go to Barron County, some go to Sumner County, Robertson County, Sumner and Robertson start at $25 an hour for floor deputies. I got 3 Logan on this list.
But you have to bear in mind too, just to be completely fair and upfront, when they're going to the counties in Tennessee, they're actually going to work for the sheriff's department because the sheriff operates the jails in the Tennessee counties.
But they're going into those jobs.
Yeah,
They're
yeah,
still going in as correctional officers, but they're not going in as road deputies.
right.
They're different, they're post-certified in Tennessee and opposed to correctional certified. And I'm like Jerry D, you can't sit there and look at an employee when they say, well, I'm going to the sheriff's office to work for Jerry D. Jerry D offers more than we do. He offers more opportunity than we do. I can't compete with that. I'm not going to sit there and look at an employee that is trying to take care of their family and say, please don't go. Now, there's been several of them I had said, please don't go, and that's just because I was greedy and wanted to keep them. But you can't honestly just look at them and say that. You have to encourage. And I think some of the conversations that Jerry D and I have had is like, would you hire this guy? Yes, because I know this person right here will protect my family if I ever need him. So you want them out there protecting our community. But it's still hard when you're trying to run a jail. And it really benefits the jail to have people that go to work for Jerry D and for city police because they know what we do in the jail. So we're happy to be a springboard for people that want to go into that side of law enforcement. But it's helpful to us if they stay local. It's not helpful to us if they go somewhere else.
Well, and here, I'm never a fan, just like with the opioid money or any other, I'm never a fan of taking that automobile money to pay employee costs because that automobile is a one-time payment, a capital expense. You give the employee raise with it, then it's recurring, and it's going to have to follow through into the next year and the year after that and the year after that. But I guess if that's the willingness of the court, you can do that with an understanding that we're going to have to get the health department guy in here to explain to us what we have to do and how this all works, because we're going to have to get this implemented at the very latest into the next fiscal year.
it'd been nice to have that kind of behind us, wouldn't it?
It'd been nice if we could have done it 6 years ago. Did I say that earlier? I'm just,
I think you
I'm
did.
just carrying on
I
with y'all.
think you did.
I mean, I did. And here's the thing, and to be fair, you know, when we all come in, I'm making that suggestion, and I guess it is a tough decision, but it was, to me, it was a fairly apparent decision. But because the operation costs, I mean, look at what's happened. This is our 6th budget. This is Marty's 18th budget. Jeffrey's 2nd. Look at what's happened with the budget in the 6 years that just we've been here. Cost. And I mean, not cost that we've run up, it's just cost that
Just like our home,
yeah.
or everybody else's business.
Yeah, I mean, think about this. I mean, and I don't mean this to be, I hope no one takes offense at this. Think about what a pack of toilet paper costs you at home now. We're having to buy toilet paper here too for county employees. I mean, so my point being, do y'all use toilet paper? I mean, my point being, when my wife tells me what a pack of toilet paper costs, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I'm like, Marty's shelling corn. I'm going to grab these corn cobs.
We sell them, won't we? We sell them some corn cobs.
You might want to start selling corn cobs.
We sell them.
So yes.
Just make one quick point.
Yes, sir.
If we take our budget number and add the 35 in that Nicole had as carryover, and take that truck out, we were only $67,000 apart. That puts you $11,000 for good. So you may be able to utilize that money somewhere else.
Say that again,
Okay.
because let me make a few notes while you're talking, because okay, go ahead.
Okay, the budget numbers we turned in, budget numbers that Nicole came up with, were only $67,000 apart.
Okay.
And $4.5 million budget is around there. Nicole has $35,000 in carryover that I had no idea we was paying. So if we put that $35,000 in carryover in our budget, that reduces the amount of $35,000. If we take the truck out, that's $43,000 more. So 35 and 43 is 78, we're 67 apart. You get a $78,000 plus, 67,000 negative, you got $11,000 for good to help you in the budget.
I'm sure we can. Because, and please don't, this is not a dig. This is, believe me, it's not. But I'm sure we can, because we're going to have to kick about $700,000 more into the jail than we did last year. That's not your fault.
And I appreciate you acknowledging that. You're correct.
But my payroll number is 3.4%. So if we had to, if court decided to increase employee pay to that additional $2, I'll have to change all my numbers, so.
I used your spreadsheet you sent me.
I apologize for stepping out a while ago.
I knew you was coughing bad and had to,
What number are they talking about?
hang on now.
Part-time, because we really burnt up part-time this year.
Yeah, that's why we increased it, because we looked at those numbers.
When you're losing employees and you're rotating like that, you have to use part-time,
I
overtime to
think
fill
they're
it.
talking the
Our thought was we would get
35,000 in
paid
surplus.
for people
No,
to
I'm talking about
stay.
for employees.
Gotcha.
I apologize for stepping out a while ago, I just couldn't quit coughing. What number are you talking about for your employee raises?
For employee raise.
Dollar amount,
Part,
for a dollar amount, total dollar amount. Like, we know the sheriff's was gonna be 204. What you are asking for, what dollar amount is that? Well, we don't know. If you do $4 an hour, it's 204.
yeah, I had 1.795, Nicole had 1.719. So,
Well, how much raise do you get, what kind of raise is that?
3.4 plus the $2 an hour hourly employees.
What if we, and we can't do it today, I mean, it ain't gonna happen like while we're in here. What if I get Nicole to run those numbers on 1 and 2 and just see where they're at and what we can do with the vehicle? And can we look at that?
And if you want to just keep the vehicle and get the money and everything, just put another 100 out of that commissary in there. That's 100,000 and that takes care of it. I don't know, y'all said you couldn't do it when you were down at about 60,000. You said you couldn't put 100 in there, and now we're at 295 or 255,000.
I know about what's in there right now, how we've been tracking, we're maxing right now.
I'm asking a question because I don't know. Is that number coming down with the inmate count coming down?
I say a little bit. Normally keeps going up, so now it's hitting that reverse number. So
Can we not figure out something? I mean, can we try to figure out something? Let's put it that way. Can we try to figure out something that could help? Maybe?
I'll give you the whole thing, and I don't have a problem. We just, I just don't think it's gonna sustain. I'm being real. Stadium makes me more money.
But I'm just talking about, let's get some help through this budget. Okay.
I'll do what I do.
Okay.
When we started this, I was iffy back years ago. When we started, plugging where we could plug and utilize it a certain way.
Okay.
When we started
So-
figuring out that we could do this in a certain way, you didn't heard me.
So here's my question then now to the court. This is my question to the court. If we get Nicole to run numbers on the jail at 1 and 2, and y'all are saying y'all are good if we take a look at that, we run those numbers. And then we see if there's anything that can be done commissary-wise to try to help. If we have to pull the car out, we pull the car out. We just take a look at all of that and see what's what. We do the health insurance at the $950. And
is that at keeping HRA with standard at 1,500 and moving your premiums to 1,700?
yeah, just like
With the same deductible gap, is that what you all?
yeah.
Yes.
It will a little. Yeah, we get that. Okay, then are we saying that we have a willingness to readdress the 911 ordinance and reflect that number at $4 an hour and bring an additional $4 to the sheriff's deputies?
Yes.
I just need to ask the fire chief one question. I mean, it's kind of, where are we at in your department?
As far as
To pay?
competitive wise, or
I was hoping we could find $1 an hour for the firefighter. The full-time hourly,
yes, it's a quick math on that. I think,
knowing that the city's going to have to pick up half of that, would that be a reasonable assumption?
That's a good question because they're picking up the 50% on the new folks we hired, but they're still only at like 30% on the base of the operation of the fire department. And so if you bring that back to our base employees, the original 5, I don't know that they would have an agreement to pick that up at 50%. But
Well-
we still assess them at, was it roughly 38%, 37, 38?
Yeah, that's
Something like that.
number, yeah.
I was thinking last year,
well, there's 8 of us. So people are talking just the hourly. That's correct?
yep,
So if we did that, so 3, there'd be 6 of those guys. I'm sorry, trying to do a little bit of mine here.
So that would be roughly 17,000, and half of those guys will be the new guys that the city's cover half of. So,
Well, of the 8, the city covers the 3 on half of the 3 new
yes.
ones, yeah.
I just
But
picked
not the
city.
original-
I'll have
not the
6
original
out,
3.
3 of those. the city
I can't
cover
hear.
the half of.
Okay.
So roughly, 18, 40,000. So we'd be somewhere in the ballpark of like $14,000, I think, increase if we.
And that's just,
Do you think
but that's
the
just, is that just on
consensus
the
last year
gross?
was,
That
the
doesn't
consensus of both
include
governments?
retirement,
No,
FICA,
that.
and all that.
We
Yeah.
talked about,
Really rough
we
number.
talked
Yeah.
about that dollar an hour raise.
I'm trying to figure out which conversation I need to be listening to.
Well, I just want to make sure you all understand what the number he's roughly giving you is gross. So it's also going to tack on 39% of retirement match,
Yep.
7.65 of FICA, workers' comp, so,
Yep.
okay.
I can have you that
And-
number, I have the spreadsheet, and I can plug a number and change it, I can give you an exact figure at the next meeting. That was just based on the hour at $1, which is correct, that's not any of the benefit, that's gonna add in several.
Well,
I can give you a number next.
and Nicole loves when we do this to her. We just take a look at what a dollar means there. I mean, she can pull that, I mean, it ain't like she just pulls it like this. I mean,
I
it's work to
understand that.
her. I don't want y'all to think that, oh, she just hits a button and it's done. I mean, but she can get that together for us. Not today, not tomorrow, but
By next week.
we meet
If
next
we're gonna do it
week.
for all them departments, the
Yeah.
road department, or public
Yeah.
works, you can go over here to the state for more money too, so we don't
Yeah.
need to leave them out.
We'll just pull it on all of them.
And we'll let the jail commissary pay for it all.
You mentioned the health insurance would add increase. We done had that factored in.
You already factored in.
Well, when I was saying earlier, if we do the 950, where we're at to the good and what,
Gotcha.
yes, because the number,
You got it over there, but it's not.
it's not on this budget, but $900 is in this budget, but I've already figured out what the extra 50 will cost us.
Gotcha.
Or actually, to be honest with you, Nicole has already figured out what the extra 50 would cost us.
Okay. That's the kind of stuff I need to know, because that's saving a dollar or two and all that.
So let me ask y'all this, and this is a serious question, and I don't anticipate that it would be done by the next meeting, which is only a week away, but it should by the one 3 weeks away. If we draft an ordinance on the 911 fee, we've got at least 3 people that's gonna put their neck on the line and say yes to $4 meter fee?
Yep.
If we're funding a $4 an hour increase to the sheriff's office. Okay,
Anything else?
yeah, that's my question to y'all. Anything else? The only one leaving here with real problems is Nicole.
Nicole ain't got no problem. I moved to
Have
adjourn
one up
for
in
nothing
here?
else.
I told you it's gonna warm up.
Marty's made a motion to adjourn unless y'all have any other questions, concerns, anything we need to address. Second. We got a second by Scott. All in favor, aye. Aye.